When my son Ethan Miller decided to move into the mansion owned by his millionaire mother-in-law, Victoria Hale, his wife Kara, who loved to be called Kara, never Candace, bolted after him without a second thought, leaving me alone in the house she had always mocked. I remember her parting shot before she slid into the glossy import Victoria sent to collect them. Kara. Rot in that dusty old house. You washed-up relic, she yelled so loud the neighbors stepped onto their porches. Ethan didn't say a word. He loaded their bags, climbed into the car, and never looked back. I stood on my porch, rooted like a fence post, watching them speed off toward a life of servants and chandeliers they'd been dreaming about. 3 months passed, no calls, no texts, like I had vanished. Then, one Thursday afternoon, a beat-up rideshare rolled to the curb. They shuffled out with the very same suitcases, dreams drained from their faces. When I opened the door and saw those pleading eyes, I welcomed them in a way that even Luis, the driver, couldn't believe. Because what they didn't know was that those quiet months didn't break me. They rebuilt me. But to understand why, I need to rewind. My name is Nora Bennett. I'm 64, and this modest 2-story in a working-class stretch of Detroit's North End is everything I own. I bought it 30 years ago with the life insurance money after my husband died in a construction accident. One ordinary morning he left for work and never came home. He left me with a little boy, a few bills, and a check I turned into a roof over our heads. For 25 years, I worked as an administrative assistant at a small accounting office. It wasn't fancy, but it was honest. I raised Ethan alone, fed him, clothed him, paid for school and supplies and field trips and dreams. Maybe he lacked a father, but I tried to be both. I grabbed overtime whenever I could and saved every nickel so he could attend college. He did. Engineering degree, solid job, and I was proud in a way that warms you from the inside out. Then Kara burst into our lives. They met at a conference 4 years back. She worked in public relations, always razor-sharp in appearance, always carrying that air of better than. When Ethan introduced her, I offered a hug the way I do with everybody. She offered a stiff handshake and a quick scan of my thrift store dress and scuffed shoes, like even my touch might stain her. I should have noticed it then. That measuring look from head to toe, the quiet calculation. They married 6 months later. We kept it small because I refused to go into debt and Ethan wouldn't let me. Kara wore a frown the whole day. Her mother, Victoria, didn't bother to come, sent an expensive gift and a cold note about a business trip in Europe. I cooked with my own hands, mac and cheese, collard greens, fried chicken, the kind of food that fills a room with laughter. Kara barely tasted anything. I overheard her whisper to a cousin, "Tastes like cheap takeout." After the wedding, they moved in with me. Just for a while, they promised, until they could save for a place of their own. I was happy. The house felt full again. I prepared the big upstairs room with a view of the little backyard. Fresh sheets, clean curtains, the works. I thought we'd be a family. How naive that turned out to be. From the first night Kara started in, the house smelled old, the walls needed paint, the bathroom was tiny, the living room couch looked like it came from a curb. Every day brought a new complaint. Ethan tried to smooth it over with nervous laughs. "She's used to different things, Mom. Please understand." And I tried. I swallowed my pride and kept cooking and cleaning, hoping comfort would make kindness catch on. It didn't. Kara stopped eating my food. Too greasy, too heavy, too ordinary. She ordered expensive takeout and left the containers on the counter for me to throw away. She invited her friends over and apologized for the temporary situation. Ethan got quieter, coming home late and closing their bedroom door. I heard arguments, a lot of them. Kara crying that she couldn't live like this, that her mother was right, that she deserved better. And then Victoria started visiting. Visiting isn't the word. Inspecting fits better. She arrived with a driver, dressed for a gala, casting her eyes around my home like she might catch poverty by accident. She perched on the edge of the sofa and spoke to Ethan in that polished tone. "You have potential, dear. You've done admirably considering your humble start. With the right connections, you could go far." Then she turned to me with a smile that never reached her eyes. Nora, it's admirable how much you've done with so little. Not everyone is fortunate enough to be born into the right position. I clenched my fists under the table and smiled anyway. I smiled for Ethan because I didn't want to make trouble. I told myself patience would win them over. I was wrong. People like that don't read kindness as strength. They read it as an opening. Everything changed one Friday night when Victoria came for dinner. I had scrubbed the house until it shone and set fresh flowers on the table. Kara barely spoke to me all week, but that night she glowed. Between bites, Victoria went on about her estate, her travels, and the opportunities she could create for Ethan. If only he were in the right place. Then she set the hook. Ethan, why don't you two come live with me? I have an entire wing, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a private balcony. Kara would be thrilled. You could focus on your career without... She let the sentence die, her eyes sliding to me. The silence felt like a slap. I kept my voice steady. Nora, Ethan has to choose what's best for him. And he did. Of course he did. A week later, they packed. Those days between the offer and the move were slow torture. Ethan avoided conversation. Kara floated through my halls like she already owned the next life, gushing to her friends about the mansion, the gardens, the heated pool. She never mentioned me. It was as if the last 2 years had been scrubbed from her memory. 2 nights before the move, I found Ethan in the kitchen getting water. I approached like you approach a skittish animal. Nora. Son, are you sure? This is your home. It always will be, Ethan. Mom, I'm not a kid anymore. I need my own life. Kara isn't happy here. I asked, and you? He didn't answer. He set the glass down harder than he needed to and walked out, leaving my words hanging in the air. On moving day, a small rental truck pulled up. Most of the furniture was mine, so there wasn't much to load. Still, Kara made sure to take every gift I'd ever given them and any photo where they appeared without me, like she wanted to erase any trace of this house from their story. I helped carry boxes while Ethan studied the driveway. Then Victoria arrived and stayed in the car, honking twice like summoning help. Kara practically sprinted over. Ethan lifted the last suitcase and finally looked at me. For 1 second I saw something flicker. Guilt, maybe. Then Kara called from the car and it vanished. Ethan. Take care, Mom. I reached out. Ethan, wait. But he was already walking away. Kara lowered the window with that tight little smile I'd learned to hate. Kara. Rot in that dusty old house, you washed-up relic. We're going to live right. Neighbors spilled outside. Carol Ellis from next door. Frank Rivers from across the street. Everyone heard. Everyone watched me get humiliated on my own sidewalk. Ethan got in the car. Victoria pulled away. Just like that, I stood there, tears finally breaking loose. Carol came over and hugged me. Carol. Oh, Nora, that woman is unforgivable. And your son. He ought to be ashamed. But I didn't want comfort. I wanted the door shut between me and the world. The house went quiet in a way I could hear in my bones. I sat on the old couch Kara hated and cried for hours. Cried for my boy who chose luxury over loyalty. Cried for all the years I gave. Cried for the public shame. Days bled into weeks. I checked my phone like a habit I couldn't quit. Nothing, no call. No text. It was like I had died. Some neighbors brought casseroles like I was grieving a funeral. In a way, I was. I was grieving a son I lost not to death but to ambition. One night I heard rattling outside. I peered through the curtain and saw teenagers spray painting my side wall. By morning, the words were dry. The abandoned woman's house. Rumor travels faster than truth. I scrubbed it off myself. 3 hours and 2 buckets of soapy water. Carol offered to help. I told her no. I needed to do this with my own hands. With every swipe, I felt something in me harden, grief setting like concrete and turning into resolve. That night, for the first time in a month, I didn't cry. I poured coffee and looked around. Really looked. Kara was right about one thing. The house needed love. Faded paint. Sagging curtains. A backyard that had given up. Not because I was pitiful, but because I had poured every last ounce into Ethan and left nothing for myself. I pulled out a notebook and made a list. Paint the living room, fix the leaky bathroom faucet, new curtains, revive the garden. Every complaint Kara threw at me, I would fix it. Not for her, for me. Because this is my home and I deserve beauty too. The next morning, I pulled my emergency savings. It wasn't much, about $3,000 left after the wedding and the months they lived with me. But this was an emergency of dignity. At the hardware store, I picked cream for the living room, light green for the kitchen, and soft yellow for my bedroom. A young clerk named Marcus Lane helped load the cans into a cab. Marcus, you painting all this by yourself, ma'am? Nora, yes. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. I started the same afternoon. Moved furniture, spread newspaper, and rolled paint until my shoulders burned. I'd never painted a house before, but I learned quick. The first day was a mess. Paint on my jeans, a splash on the floor. But I kept going. With every fresh wall, it was like I was brushing a new layer over old hurt. Carol checked on me daily, clucking her tongue and telling me to hire help. I shook my head. I needed to do this with my own 2 hands. 2 weeks later, I stood in a brighter living room and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Pride. Still, questions gnawed at me. Was Ethan happy? Did he think of me? The mothering part of me kept reaching for him in the dark. That's when I remembered Janine Harper, a friend from the accounting office who had hustled through night school and become an attorney. We hadn't seen much of each other lately, but I trusted her. Maybe she could tell me how to protect what's mine, my house, my peace. I dialed her number, Janine, on the phone. Nora. It's been too long. How are you? Nora, not great. Can we meet? We met the next day at a small coffee shop near her office. Not the kind of place Kara would brag about, but warm and good. I arrived early, palms sweating. Janine walked in wearing a sharp suit and carrying a leather briefcase, but her smile was the same one I remembered. She hugged me tight. Janine. Tell me everything. So I did, from the conference where they met to the moving day insult shouted out a car window. She listened without interrupting, but her face hardened with each detail. When I finished, she took my hand. Janine. First question. The house. Whose name is on the deed? Nora. Mine. Bought it with my husband's policy 30 years ago. Janine. Good. Does Ethan have anything that makes him co-owner? Nora. No, Janine. Okay, then listen to me. What they did is cruel. And given your age, his abandoning you without any support could be viewed as elder neglect in some contexts. I'm not saying sue your son. I'm saying you have rights. You are not defenseless. Document everything, calls, texts, or the lack of them. Keep receipts. Protect your deed. Her words echoed in my head for days. I had rights. I was not defenseless. I had spent a lifetime shrinking so others could stretch. For the first time in a long time, I felt myself stand up to my full height, but it didn't have to stay that way. Days rolled into weeks, weeks into 2 months, and I kept working the plan. After painting, I fixed the leaky bathroom faucet. For the heavier jobs, I hired Marcus Lane, the young guy from the hardware store. He turned out to be steady, polite, and fair. We rebuilt the flower beds, reset the fence panels, and tucked bright annuals along the walkway. I swapped the heavy drapes for light beige curtains that let the sun spill in. A couple of leafy plants brightened the living room. Little by little, my house changed, and so did I. I trimmed down from the work. My face picked up color from hours in the garden. But the bigger shift was inside. Something about my gaze hardened, in a good way. I wasn't the scared woman who cried at night anymore. I was becoming someone stronger, someone who didn't need anybody's approval to know her worth. One afternoon, watering the tomato pots, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost let it go, then answered, Ethan, on phone. Mom, his voice sounded tight, almost panicked. My heart kicked. Nearly 3 months of silence, and here he was. Nora, Ethan, are you okay? Ethan, yeah, I'm fine. Listen, I need a favor. It's important. A favor. Not I miss you? Not I'm sorry, Nora. What do you need? Ethan, can you loan me $5,000? I need it fast. I'll pay you back in 2 months. I went quiet. I had $5,200 in my account. Everything left after paint, tools, and soil. My safety net, Nora. What's it for? Ethan hesitating. It's expenses, things that came up. I can't explain right now, but I really need it. Expenses? Don't you live in a mansion with your millionaire mother-in-law? What kind of expenses are we talking about? Ethan, Mom, please don't start. Are you helping me or not? The chill in his tone cut sharper than any insult Kara ever threw. My own son sounding like I was a cash machine. Nora, you haven't called in 3 months to ask if I'm even alive. Now you want $5,000? Do you truly expect me to say yes? Ethan, I knew you'd do this. You always play the victim. If you don't want to help, just say it. Something in me snapped, not with sadness, with clarity. I finally saw what my boy had turned into, a man who came to me only when he wanted something. Nora, no, Ethan, I won't loan you the money. Silence stretched. In the background, I heard Kara shout something I couldn't make out. Ethan exhaled hard. Ethan, fine, perfect. I knew I couldn't count on you. Goodbye, Mom. The line went dead. I stood in the yard, hose in hand, feeling a strange mix of pain and freedom. I had said no for the first time in my life. It hurt. It also felt right. That night I called Janine Harper. When I told her what happened, she let out a low whistle. Janine, 5,000? Nora, something's off at that house. People with real money don't borrow $5,000 like that unless the wheels are coming off. Nora, you think so? Janine, I'm sure. Let me make a few calls about Victoria Hale. It's good to know who your son's tied to. Part of me didn't want to know. Part of me wanted to move on. But the mother in me needed to be sure Ethan was safe. A week later, Janine asked me to come by her office. She had a folder on her desk. Janine, I found a few things. First, that mansion, not hers. Victoria is renting and she's behind. Her import business is underwater. The car, the gowns, the sparkle, mostly rented or on credit. She's leveraged to the hilt. And another thing, she's been charging Ethan and Kara for everything. Room, board, utilities. Your son isn't living there for free. She's squeezing them. I stared at the paperwork. My stomach knotted. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt sick. I didn't want Ethan hurt even now. Nora, what am I supposed to do with this? Janine, for now, nothing. Keep it. My gut says you'll need it soon. She was right. 2 weeks later, a gray Thursday turned to rain, and my doorbell rang. I opened it to see Ethan and Kara, soaked through, suitcases at their feet, faces crumpled. Luis, the rideshare driver, hovered by the curb watching everything. The world seemed to hold its breath. It had been 3 months and 2 weeks since they left. Kara's same emerald dress hung limp, smeared at the hem. Ethan couldn't meet my eyes. The suitcases were the same ones as before, only scuffed and beaten like the last few months had tossed them around. Ethan. Mom? Voice shredded. We need to talk. Can we come in? I didn't move. I took in the rain, the bags, the woman who once called my home a dump. Nora. Talk? That's interesting. 3 months ago, you didn't want to talk. You just wanted to chase the good life and leave me to rot in my dusty old house, remember? Those were your words, Kara. For the first time since I met her, Kara had nothing to say. Her mouth opened and closed. Ethan stepped forward. Ethan. Mom, please. We made a mistake. A huge one. Victoria. Things didn't work out. Nora. Flat. Didn't work out how? Not grand enough? Or did Victoria turn out less generous than you hoped? Behind them, Luis approached, holding out his phone. Louis. Ma'am, the fare is $120. Ethan, patting pockets. I don't have cash. Can I transfer? The app's glitching in this rain. Louis, I need cash. Awkward beat. Ethan came up empty. Kara rummaged and found a wrinkled $50. Together they scraped $115, still short. Luis looked at me, waiting for the soft-hearted mother to hand over $5. I folded my arms. Nora. I didn't order this ride, Luis. Ethan's eyes widened. Kara looked like she might cry. Luis sighed. Louis, look, I need to get paid. I have a family. Ethan, desperate. Give me 2 days. I'll transfer everything, tip included. I swear. Louis frowned, then took the $115. Louis, 2 days. If it doesn't come through, I'll have to report it. He climbed back in, muttered about problem fares, and drove off, leaving the 3 of us in the thickening rain. Ethan, lifting a bag. Mom, please. We're soaked. Can we come inside? I glanced over my shoulder at my bright living room, the walls I rolled myself, the space that had become my sanctuary. Then I looked at the 2 people who expected me to be who I used to be, the woman who always sacrificed herself. Nora. No. Silence hit so hard it almost had a sound. Ethan. What? Nora, you can't come in. Kara sobbed. Kara. Nora, please. We have nowhere to go. Victoria kicked us out. No cash, no cards. We've been in cheap motels for 4 days. We're out of money, please, just for tonight. Nora. Just for tonight. Like when you moved in temporarily and stayed nearly 2 years. Like when you apologized to your friends for my humble place. You're sorry now because you're uncomfortable, not because you hurt me. Ethan, voice cracking. Mom, I'm your son. You're really leaving me out here? Those words were a lever meant to pry open the same old door. And I felt the tug, I won't lie. But I remembered Janine's voice. You have rights. You are not defenseless. I remembered the graffiti, the pitying looks, that day on the curb. Nora. When you left Ethan, you left me. You chose money over your mother. You let your wife insult me in front of the neighborhood. You didn't call once in 3 months. The only time you dialed my number was to ask for $5,000, and when I said no, you hung up. I'm not putting you in the street. You put yourself there. Kara dropped to her knees on the wet concrete. Kara, please, Nora. We messed up. We need you. Nora, you needed me when there was nothing to gain. Back when my house was good enough to sleep in, but not good enough to respect. You're here now because you ran out of options, not because you ran out of pride. Porch lights flicked on up and down the block. She eyed my cart, cat food, litter, a feather toy, then lifted her chin to evaluate me the way she always had. Only this time she didn't find the woman who used to flinch. Victoria. I heard Ethan and Kara came to your door. Nora. They did. Victoria. And you didn't let them in? Nora. No. She gave a bitter half laugh. Victoria. Can't blame you. They were fools. I thought Ethan had more steel, more ambition. Turns out he's as weak as his father probably was. Heat flashed through me. Nora, low. Don't you dare talk about my husband. He was worth 1,000 of you. Honest, hardworking, the opposite of a counterfeit life. Her eyes narrowed. Victoria. What did you say? Nora, you heard me. Your mansion is rented. You're in debt. You charged my son $2,000 for a single room. I know it all. Color drained from her face. Victoria, muttering. You don't know anything. Nora. I know enough. You used him. You squeezed until there was nothing left. And when your show started falling apart, you threw them out like trash, the same way they tried to throw me out of my own life. Victoria. They made their choices. Nora. Yes, and you made yours. Word is, the authorities are interested in your non-existent import business. Her mouth twisted. Victoria. Watch your tongue, you meddling. Nora, leaning in, steady. Sue me. I'd love to see your books opened in court. You thought I was weak. I raised my son alone, bought my house alone, rebuilt myself alone. While you sink, I'm stronger than I've ever been. I didn't wait for a comeback. I paid and walked out with my head high. My hands shook. My heart hammered. But I felt powerful. I had spoken plain truth to the woman who had fueled so much damage. That evening, Janine called, voice bright. Janine, you won't believe it. Victoria Hale was arrested this afternoon. The investigation moved fast. Charges include fraud and tax evasion. She's going to trial. Nora, is Ethan implicated? Janine, no, he didn't know. He's just another victim. But the money they paid? It's gone. After we hung up, I sat with Luna purring on my knee. Ethan and Kara had lost everything. Money, pride, the fantasy. And me, the woman they abandoned, stood steadier than ever. On Sunday, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to the park by myself. I walked the loop, watched kids chase kites, couples split a bench in comfortable silence. Before that used to sting. Now it felt like freedom. I have a house. I have a kitten. I have peace. On a bench I met Ruth, silver bob, kind eyes, about my age. We talked. Turns out she lives alone too and had weathered her own family storms. Ruth, it's liberating, isn't it? Realizing you don't have to live for people who won't live with you. Nora, smiling. Yes, liberating. We swapped numbers and planned coffee next week. A new friend. A clean page. Life was filling with good things and good people. Without Ethan. Without Kara. Without the weight that used to drag me under. When I got home, I sat in the garden with Luna dozing on my lap and looked at my house. The fresh paint glowing, the flowers in full color. It was all mine. For the first time in my life, I felt complete where I stood. I didn't need my son's approval. I didn't need to play the long-suffering mother. I could simply be Nora Bennett, 64, storm survivor, stronger on the other side. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it go. If it was Ethan, I had nothing new to say. Anyone else could leave a message. This moment belonged to me. Luna purred louder, like she understood, and I closed my eyes, letting the sun warm my face. This was my life now, and it was beautiful. The weeks kept flowing, and so did the good. Ruth became a real friend. We walked twice a week and grabbed coffee after. She introduced me to a spunky Thursday group, women our age who take dance class for the joy of it. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in a long while. And I realized something simple and huge. I hadn't just rebuilt a house. I had rebuilt myself. At first I was embarrassed, but the ladies talked me into trying. The first dance class was a mess. I stepped on my partner's toes 3 times and lost the beat more than once. But the women laughed with me, not at me. By the 3rd class, I found the rhythm. There was something freeing about moving to the music, about letting my body lead and my mind rest. For that hour, I wasn't the abandoned mother or the humiliated woman. I was simply Nora dancing. After class one afternoon, Ruth and I grabbed coffee. She gave me that look I now recognized, the one that says she's about to say something true. Ruth. Nora, you look different. Not just the weight loss, you're glowing. It's in your eyes, the way you walk. You're being reborn. Her words landed deep. Nora, I feel reborn. I thought Ethan's abandonment would break me, but somehow it freed me. Ruth, soft. Sometimes people have to leave so we can find who we are without them. Meanwhile, neighborhood chatter filtered back to me about Ethan and Kara. After the church shelter, they found a tiny room in a boarding house across town. Ethan picked up bicycle deliveries, a job he'd never have considered before. Kara started cleaning houses. The woman who once called my cooking too common was scrubbing strangers' floors to get by. Frank Rivers told me he'd spotted them one afternoon, exhausted, defeated. Ethan saw me and looked down, too ashamed to say hello. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel pity. I felt a quiet, neutral acceptance. They were living the consequences of their choices as I was living mine. One October day, while I watered the marigolds, Kara walked up alone. I barely recognized her. Hair in a simple ponytail, no makeup, worn jeans and a tired t-shirt. The arrogance she used to wear like a crown was gone. All that remained was weariness and humility. She stopped at the fence. Kara. Nora, can we talk? Nora. Does Ethan know you're here? Kara. No. He says he's too proud to beg again. But I need to talk to you. I nearly sent her away. But something about her posture, about the genuine humility I'd never seen, made me pause. Nora. 5 minutes. Out here. She nodded gratefully and stayed outside the fence as if honoring a boundary she finally understood. Kara. I want to apologize. I know it means nothing coming from me. I was awful to you, but I need you to hear it. Nora. I'm listening. Kara. I grew up with a mother who preached that money is everything and appearances mean more than people. I believed her. I married Ethan because I saw potential, and because I thought I could mold him into what she wanted. Living here reminded me daily of what I feared, being poor, simple, ordinary. So I attacked you. I made you small to feel big. And then my mother used us the way I used you. She squeezed us dry, then threw us away. That's when I understood what I did to you. She wiped at her eyes. Kara. Now I clean offices. I wear secondhand clothes. I have nowhere to run. I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know I finally see it. I studied her face. This apology wasn't the desperate performance from the rainstorm. It felt real, Nora. I believe you. But you're right. I'm not going to forgive you. Not now, maybe never. Forgiveness isn't handed out for saying sorry. It's earned over time with actions. And I have no interest in giving you that time. She nodded. Kara. I understand. Thank you for hearing me. Your home looks beautiful, by the way. It always was. I was too blind to see it. I watched her walk away, shoulders low but gait peaceful. I didn't feel victory, just a chapter closing, quiet and clean. That night, Janine Harper stopped by with news. Janine. Victoria Hale's trial is set for next month. The prosecutor says the case is strong. She'll likely do years. Nora, automatic. Poor Ethan. Even I was surprised to hear myself say it. Janine, gently. You still worry? Nora. He's my son. A part of me always will. But I won't rescue him. Two truths can live side by side. Janine. You're stronger than you know. November drifted in with crisp air and a fresh mood. I settled into a routine I loved. Early coffee, Luna playing at my feet, tender hours in the garden. Thursdays, dance class. Sundays, the park with Ruth. My house felt warm and alive. New art on the walls, plants in every corner, light everywhere. One morning, Frank Rivers knocked. Enk. Nora, I've got a favor. My nephew Ken Davis just moved to town. He's an accountant looking for work. Could you give him a little guidance? Nora. Of course. Ken turned out to be a kind 50-something man, divorced, smart, a little shy. We talked shop, swapped firm names, plotted next steps. When he left, he thanked me like I'd moved a mountain. I realized I was meeting new people and building real connections. My world was expanding, the opposite of that old bubble where I twisted myself into knots to please Ethan and endure Kara. December brought lights and wreaths. The season used to make me ache for the little boy Ethan had been. This year felt different. Ruth invited me to a holiday dinner with her friends. I caught my reflection before I left. Color in my cheeks, light in my eyes. I'd recovered something I hadn't seen in years, joy. Not the kind that comes from keeping everyone else comfortable, the kind that comes from being at peace. Luna meowed from the bed like she approved. The dinner was wonderful. 8 women, stories of loss and rebirth, laughter and toasts to second chances. I felt part of a chosen family. When I got home, an envelope waited on my door. Inside was a handwritten note. Ethan, letter. Mom, I know you don't want to talk to me, but I wanted you to know I got a better job. I'm back at an engineering firm. It's not much yet, but it's a start. Kara and I moved into a small, clean apartment. We're learning to live with less. I know I failed you. Carol Ellis stepped out with an umbrella. Frank Rivers edged onto his porch. The same witnesses to my humiliation were watching this too, but this time, I wasn't the one shrinking. Ethan, hands in his hair. Okay, we were wrong. We were ungrateful. What do you want us to do, say sorry 1,000 times? I'll do it. Please, just for tonight. We'll find a place tomorrow, Nora. It's pouring. You have no cash. Call Victoria. Call Kara's friends. Or do what I did when life knocked me flat. Figure it out. Kara kept sobbing. Ethan stared at me like he'd never seen me before. Nora, steady. Here's the worst part. You're not at my door because you miss me, or because you're truly sorry. You're here because I'm your last option. I don't play Plan Z anymore. I reached for the knob, Ethan, lurching forward. Wait, please. Just let me explain. Victoria isn't who we thought. She lied. She used us. She made us work like staff and charged us for everything. Food, water, power. When we couldn't pay, she threw us out. She took our phones and cards. We only have these bags. Nora. I used to say family is everything. But family runs both ways. You didn't treat me like family. You treated me like convenience. I stepped inside and closed the door. Kara screamed my name. Ethan pounded the wood. I didn't open it. I leaned my back against it and let the tears come. Tears that tasted like liberation, not grief. The knocking went on for a while, then faded into voices. Through the window, I saw Carol offer them a ride to a shelter. Big umbrella canted against the rain. Frank handed Ethan some bills for a motel. The same neighbors Kara looked down on were showing more kindness than I could summon. That was their choice. I had made mine. I didn't sleep much. I sipped tea in my freshly painted living room, staring at the soft glow on the walls. Guilt tugged at me. Instinct itched to run after them. But the stronger part of me, the one I'd been building, knew I'd done the right thing. For once, I chose my own dignity. It was scary. It also felt good. In the morning, I woke early, dragged from a thin sleep by that old mother's worry. Where had they spent the night? Were they safe? I made coffee and stepped into the garden. Last night's rain jeweled the leaves. The flowers I planted were opening like small promises. Everything looked clean and new. At 9, Carol knocked with a warm tray of sweet rolls and her familiar worried brow. Carol, Nora, are you okay? She paused, taking in the bright walls, the tidy trim, the new curtains. Carol, soft smile. Your house is beautiful. I haven't been in since you started. Nora. Thank you, Carol. Sit. I'll pour coffee. We sat at the little kitchen table. Carol fiddled with her cup, searching for the words. Nora. Say it. You came to talk about last night. Carol. Sighing. I took them to Pastor Mike's shelter at Grace Fellowship. He set them up for 3 nights. Kara cried the whole drive. Ethan barely spoke, a weight pressed on my chest. Nora. You came to tell me I was too hard. Carol, shaking her head. No, I came to tell you I'm proud of you. What you did took a kind of courage most of us can't find. I watched how they treated you. I watched them drive off like you were nothing. And now they expect the door to swing open. No, honey, you did right. Her words lifted something heavy off my shoulders. I'd been afraid the whole neighborhood would label me cold. But Carol, who'd known me 20 years and seen it all, backed me up. Nora, quiet. But, are they okay? Carol, quietly. They'll eat. The church kitchen's feeding them, and Frank Rivers slipped them $200, more than they earned if you ask me. But you know Frank, heart of gold? I nodded, feeling relief twist with something I couldn't name. I didn't want Ethan to suffer, but I didn't want to rescue him either. It felt like walking a thin, emotional tightrope. The next days felt strange. I knew Ethan and Kara were at the shelter 4 blocks from my porch, but I didn't go. I didn't call. I kept moving. I kept fixing. Marcus Lane came by and installed new living room fixtures. Warm light filled the corners that used to feel lonely. The place looked more inviting, more like a home. One afternoon, watering the hydrangeas, I heard a voice out front. Kara. She was on the phone, practically shouting, Kara, on phone. I don't care what you have to do. I need help. I'm your cousin, remember? Or did you forget who floated your business when you started? A pause, then a furious sigh. Call ended. She shuffled down the sidewalk, shoulders slumped, wearing the same outfit from 3 days ago. The woman who once curated every strand of hair now had a dull, frizzed bun. I ducked behind the fence so she wouldn't spot me and felt 2 things at once, satisfaction and pity. That night, Janine Harper called. Janine, how are you holding up? I heard about the porch scene. Nora, how'd it get around so fast? Janine, smiling in her voice. It's a neighborhood, Nora. Carol Ellis is my aunt's best friend. Word travels. Listen, you did the right thing. Nora, I don't feel good about it. Janine, you're not supposed to feel good. You're supposed to feel strong. Not the same thing. Do you regret it? I sat with the question. Nora, no, I don't. Janine, good. Because I found more on Victoria Hale you should see. I'll swing by tomorrow. Next day, Janine set a folder on my coffee table and spread out documents. Janine, Victoria is in deep financial trouble. 3 creditors have filed suits. The house she rents is headed for foreclosure next month. That import business? Never real, a front for money laundering. Investigators are circling. Nora, that woman's heading for handcuffs. I stared, stunned. Nora, does Ethan know? Janine, doubt it. She's skilled at performance. One more thing. She charged Ethan and Kara $2,000 a month for that room, not counting food and utilities. She squeezed them dry. That's why Ethan wanted your $5,000 to plug the hole. Nora, in disbelief. $2,000 a month? They could rent a decent apartment. Janine, exactly. Victoria sold them a fantasy. Connections, opportunities, doors opening. It was smoke. Exploitation, not elevation. I looked at the papers, awash in mixed feelings. Yes, I was right to refuse the money. It would have slid straight into Victoria's pocket. But my son had still been played. Both truths could live in the same room. He'd been manipulated, and he'd hurt me. One didn't cancel the other. On Friday afternoon, Pastor Mike knocked. 70-ish, kind eyes that can still cut to the point. Pastor Mike. Nora, I need to talk about your son. I poured cold water and sat him on the sofa. He folded his hands like a man about to preach. Pastor Mike. Their 3 nights at the shelter are up. We're out of space. Ethan asked me to speak with you. I told him the truth, that he failed you, that he owed you better. But I also told him redemption exists. I'm not asking you to bring them back home. But maybe you could help them land somewhere or spot them a little money to restart. I held his gaze. Nora. With respect, no. He sighed. Pastor Mike. I understand you're hurt, daughter. But vengeance isn't the way. Nora. This isn't vengeance. It's protection. I've spent 3 months rebuilding myself. If I open the door even a crack, I fall back into the pattern. Me sacrificing, them taking. Ethan is 32, educated, employable. He can stand up. Just not on my back. He sat quiet a long time, then nodded. Pastor Mike. You're right. May God strengthen you, and may He give Ethan and Kara the spine to face what they sowed. After he left, I cried. Not grief tears, release tears. Everyone who came expecting me to bend walked away understanding. I wasn't cruel. I was strong. That night, in my peaceful, beautiful house, I knew I'd crossed a point of no return. There was no going back. Ethan would have to find his path. I was finally walking mine. Saturday morning came with a soft kind of peace. First full night of sleep in months. Toast, coffee, sun in the garden. Butterflies played over the new blooms. Then the doorbell. My heart kicked. Ethan again? I exhaled and opened the door. Marcus, on the step, shy smile. Morning, Ms. Bennett. Hope I'm not early. Nora. Not at all, Marcus. What's up? Marcus. My grandma's cat had kittens 2 months back. They're ready for homes. Thought your place. Well, it feels warm now. Maybe you'd like one. I blinked. No pets. Ethan was allergic as a kid, and then I never revisited the idea. But now, in this new life, it sounded lovely. Nora. What colors? Marcus. 3. One's all white. One's orange and black. One's gray with green eyes. All sweet. Litter trained. Nora. Impulsive. I'd like to meet the gray one. An hour later, Marcus returned with a cardboard box. Inside, soft gray fur, bright green eyes, tiny perfect paws. She stared at me and meowed like a question. I lifted her. She tucked in and purred. Something melted. Nora whispering. She's beautiful. Marcus grinning. Grandma says she's the cuddliest, like she's waiting for the right person. Nora. I'll keep her. When Marcus left, I sat with the kitten purring on my lap. Nora, you need a name. I looked around at the fresh paint. The sunny curtains, the new life I'd built. Nora, smiling. Luna, new moon, new start. The days changed. I wasn't alone anymore. Luna trailed me room to room, slept at my feet, claimed my lap for TV time. Carol came to meet her and fell in love on sight. Carol. Nora, look at that face. Your house needed this little spark? She was right. The rooms didn't carry echoes of humiliation anymore. They held peace. My peace. One afternoon at the pet store, I turned a corner and bumped into Victoria Hale. Big sunglasses. Designer clothes, wrinkled, hair lacking that expensive sheen. Victoria, surprised, removing glasses. Nora, cool. Victoria. We stood there in a pocket of silence. If you ever give me the chance, I'll prove I can be the son you deserved. I read it twice. Something shifted in my chest, not forgiveness, but the beginning of a possibility. I filed the letter away. I wasn't ready to respond. Not yet. January rolled in colder than usual. I ended the year at Ruth's. Simple dinner, happy hearts. For the first time in decades, I rang in the new year grateful for what I'd gained, not mourning what I'd lost. One morning, bundled in a sweater and sipping coffee by the garden window, an old beat-up car stopped at the curb. Ethan stepped out. Kara followed, thinner, serious. But there was something else. Resolve. Ethan carried a box. They stood at the fence and waited. No bell, no shouting. They waited for me to decide. I watched from my chair. Luna was warm on my lap. The garden shone. I could have turned away. Instead, I stood and walked to the fence without opening it. Nora, what do you want? Ethan lifted the box. Ethan, we brought this. It's everything for the house. Deed, receipts. It's always been in your name? And this. He slid out a document. Ethan, it's a notarized waiver of any claim to your property. I know I technically have no rights, but I wanted it in writing, so you'll never have to worry. I read it, exactly what he said. Clean. Final. Nora. Why? Ethan, because you gave me 30 years. A home, an education, and I paid you back with disrespect. The least I can do is protect what's yours. Kara stepped forward. Kara. I got a steady job cleaning offices. It's not much, but it's honest. Every time I mop a floor, I think about you. How you cared for your home while I mocked it. How you cooked while I turned up my nose. I'm learning that honest work has dignity, something my mother never taught me. Ethan. My mother, Victoria, got 5 years. Part of me is relieved. She can't hurt anyone else. Kara and I are in therapy, trying to understand why we were cruel to you. I believed their sincerity. But truth is stubborn. Nora, I'm glad you're working on yourselves. Truly. But that doesn't change what happened. Ethan, we know. We're not asking for forgiveness. We don't deserve it. We wanted you to know we're changing. If years from now you decide to give us a chance, we'll be ready. If you don't, we'll understand. I took the box. Nora. Anything else? Kara offered an envelope. Kara. $500. It isn't much, but it's what we could save. Every month we'll send more until we've repaid what you spent on us. Wedding, food, everything. Nora, automatic. I don't want your money, Ethan. Please accept it. Not for us, for you. You should recover what you poured into us. I stared at the envelope. Small in dollars, huge in sacrifice for them. Nora. Fine. I'll accept it. But hear me, this doesn't make us okay. It doesn't mean I've forgiven you. Ethan and Kara, together. We know. Nora, if you want to prove you've changed, do it with actions, not words, over years. For the first time, I saw tears in Ethan's eyes. Ethan, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be the son you deserved, even if you never forgive me. They turned back to the old car and drove away. I didn't feel triumph or sorrow, just closure. They'd come with humility, taken responsibility, and left the outcome in time's hands. That afternoon, Janine dropped by, reviewed the waiver, and nodded. Janine, it's solid. Your home is protected, and he did it without you asking. That says something. Nora, quiet. Maybe he's finally understanding what he did. Months passed. Every 30 days, an envelope showed up with money and a short note. Ethan, notes. Thinking of you, Mom. Hope you're well. How's Luna? He never asked for anything. He never expected a reply. He simply kept his promise. I tucked the envelopes into a drawer. I didn't spend a dime. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it, only that I recognized the effort. In March, Ken Davis invited me to dinner to say thank you. He'd landed a great job through the leads we discussed. I expected a polite meal. It turned into one of the most enjoyable evenings I'd had in years. Ken was bright, funny, thoughtful. When he dropped me off, he smiled. Ken, I'd love to see you again, Nora, if you'd like. Nora, surprised at myself. Yes, not romance. Not yet, maybe never. But companionship, connection, the possibility of something new. And that was enough. April arrived and the garden burst into color. It had been 8 months since the rainy day I closed my door on Ethan and Kara. 8 months of rebuilding my life piece by piece into something better. One afternoon I heard familiar voices. Ethan was helping Carol Ellis carry groceries. I watched from the garden. He looked thinner but steadier. The way he spoke, present, genuine, told me the change was real. When he finished, he noticed me. He froze, then lifted a small wave. I nodded. It wasn't much, but it was more than I'd offered in months. Hope flickered across his face. That night, Ken came for dinner. 2 months of simple dates, walks, long talks, zero pressure. We ate on the patio under string lights. Ken, your garden is beautiful. It exploded with life. Nora, smiling. So did I. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Ken, I'm glad I met this version of you, the strong woman who lives for herself. Another monthly envelope arrived. This time there was a photo. Ethan and Kara in a public park, smiling for real in plain, clean clothes. On the back, a note, Ethan, note. We signed up for community cooking. Kara learned mac and cheese. It's not as good as yours, but she's trying. I'm trying too. I slid the photo into the drawer with the letters. 8 months of quiet apologies. Maybe it was time to acknowledge the effort. In May, Ruth hosted our dance group at my place, the first celebration in my home since Ethan left. The women arrived with casseroles and music. The living room filled with laughter. Carol brought old neighborhood photos and we told stories until our cheeks hurt. Ruth, raising a glass. To Nora, a year ago. Broken. Today, bright with second chances, we echoed, to second chances. When the house grew quiet, I sat under the stars. Luna slept on my lap. A warm breeze carried the scent of jasmine. The gate clicked. Ethan stood there alone, thin. Sorry it's late. I saw your lights. Can I talk for a minute? I looked at him for a long time, then, for the first time in 8 months, unlatched the fence. Nora, come in. Just for a moment. He sat on the garden bench, careful, respectful. Luna stared curious, thief and soft. Is she new? Nora. Luna. I adopted her a while ago. Ethan. She's beautiful. Silence. Then a breath, Ethan. I didn't come to ask for anything. I saw you with Ken. You looked happy. You deserve that. You deserve good people. I don't expect forgiveness or for things to go back. I just hope that when you see me, it doesn't hurt. Even indifference would be more than I deserve. Honesty, plain and heavy. Nora. I don't feel indifference when I see you. I still feel pain. But I also see your effort. I don't know if we'll ever have a relationship again, but I acknowledge you're trying. Tears slid down his face. Ethan. That's more than I expected. Thank you, Mom. He stood, but I stopped him. Nora. Come to dinner next Sunday. You and Kara. I'm not promising anything more, but it's a start. His face lit with cautious hope. Ethan. Really? Nora. Really? 2:00. Don't be late. Sunday came. They arrived on time with garden flowers and a restored photo of me and little Ethan in this same yard. Dinner was awkward at first. Stiff small talk, too many pauses. Then the conversation softened. Ethan told me about rebuilding his career. Kara shared about therapy and learning to value simple things. No magic moment. No dramatic hug. But a beginning. Small, honest, possible. After they left, I stood in the doorway and watched the old car pull away. Carol peeked over her hedge. Earl. Did you forgive them? Nora. No. I'm giving them the chance to earn it. That night, I sat with Luna purring on my lap. This house Kara once despised had become a refuge. The walls I painted glowed under warm lamps. The old furniture she mocked felt solid with memory. Every corner told the story of my rebirth. Another envelope arrived, this time with a photo from a park and a note about community cooking. I tucked it away with the others. 8 months of proof. Maybe it was time to meet proof with possibility. I had journeyed from a broken, humiliated woman to a strong, whole one. I had my beautiful home, new friends, a quiet maybe with Ken, and the faint beginnings of a healthier future with my son. The past had lost its grip. Kara's cruel words, Ethan's abandonment, Victoria's manipulation, all of it now history. I survived the storm and stepped out stronger, wiser, whole. My phone buzzed. Ethan, text. Thanks for today, Mom. It was more than we deserved. We love you. I smiled and set the phone down. I didn't reply, not yet. This time I set the terms. I chose my piece. Luna stretched and yawned while moonlight touched the garden. Every flower was a marker of my rebirth. Every painted wall a declaration of independence. This was no longer a house of pain. It was my sanctuary, my victory, my home. And I, Nora Bennett, at 64 years old, am finally living, not for others, not from obligation, but for myself, for my happiness, for my peace. The past has lost its power, and the future is wide open.